Well, welcome back to another From Around Mijas live stream. And today we're going to be talking about the council meeting for October, which was held yesterday. And to talk us through this, I have my good friend and colleague, Mario Bravo. Mario, welcome.
Hello, Bill. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
You survived the council meeting yesterday, Mario.
Yes, well, it was not that long. Don't forget that some years ago we had monthly meetings of 5, 6 hours. Now
Yeah.
they are no such extension anymore, and not because there are not things to be said, simply because some other parties they try to make it goes fast.
Right. Okay. Uh, yeah,
They don't
it
want to
wasn't it
suffer.
wasn't that long. It was only about 3.5 hours yesterday or something like that.
That's right.
Um, Mario, what are the things that we should be highlighting? Really, and it all most of it comes down to money, one way and another. But what should we be highlighting from yesterday's meeting, Mario?
Well, we should tell people that whenever we talk about invoices or things like that, it is because something has been done wrongly.
Yeah,
Because if the process is correct, the bills do not reach the pleno. The bills arrive to the town hall, the technician check it and paid it. It is only when they realize that there is a fault somewhere in the process, it is when they have to be taken to this pleno, so they give explanation, apologize for their mistakes, and promise not to do it anymore. Unfortunately, it never happens in that way. They simply say, this is it. You can vote yes or vote no, but we will approve it in any case because we have more than half of the votes. As you know, we are 25 councillors and they are 13. So
yeah.
no matter how much we shout or how many reasons we give, at the end, they will vote yes to everything they have proposed and things will happen.
Now you're getting a bit of a reputation, Mario, for being the bad boy of Mijas Council.
Well, my problem is that I used to read the papers. Possibly the Counselor of Economy and Taxes doesn't do it. He is always criticizing. You know, we have a lady that was of this ecological party called Alternativa.
Yeah,
She is new. Well, she is now 3 years and a half. And the Counselor of Economy and Taxes is always criticizing her for not doing her job, while the fact is that it is him, this Roy Perez, the one who never reads the papers, the documents that he himself is bringing to the Pleno to be approved. And no matter which question you make him, he will always reply the same. You don't want people to get paid, you are always against us, you are a bad boy. Fine.
yeah,
But he never gives any single reason of why he has done things wrongly and why we have to become his partner in this mistake. That's why we always vote no. It is not that we don't want people to get paid. It is that we don't support this way of handling our money, not following the law. And this is not said by us. There is, as I have mentioned in several occasions, an internal, a general auditor who
yeah.
is, even though he's paid by the town hall, he's appointed by the government, by the central government of Spain, who is the one that has said that during the year 2021, 30 million euros have been spent wrongly. 30
Right.
millions. That is not a mistake. That is not an exception. That is a way of doing things wrongly without caring anything. That
Yeah.
is what I criticize.
I mean, the thing is, Mario, until this last 3.5 years, I had no experience of what a council agenda looked like and, what took place in councils. And I have to say that without exception, really since just about day one, um, there've been large chunks of the council meetings given to approval of expenditure.
Correct. And it is even worse. In the past years, you may have seen that there were three lots of invoices, three badges, as I used to say.
Yeah,
One was the one paid the year after, so they had run out of money 1 year. Even though that they went on spending, and that bill of the previous year was paid with the money of the following year.
right.
That is the lower infraction. Then you have a second one in which the general auditor said that the law was not followed, but there was someone in the town hall saying, well, but it is not so much, it was not such a big thing. And then there was a third lot of invoices, usually the most expensive one, in which both the general auditor and the boss of the department of the town hall organizing that expenditure recognized that everything was wrong.
Right.
Those three batches that gave me the opportunity to criticize 3 times the government from this monthly meeting has been included in only one bag. So they have merged them in only one point. So I can only talk twice, the first
Right.
and the second intervention, and they have put all the invoices together. However, they are so lazy, they are so silly that instead of doing that in only one point, they did it in 2 points. And also there was an emergency point with another lot of invoices. And
Right.
it looks like if they don't know that the end of the month arrives always at the end of the month. It looks like all of a sudden they say, oh, we have invoices to pay and the pleno will be tomorrow or after
Yeah.
tomorrow. Let's work a little bit. And then they open some boxes, they found some mistakes, and they bring them to the pleno. That is not the way we would like our money to be handled.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 822,000, and I saw in Mika's communication today that they were publishing this as if, aren't we great? We're paying 822,000 in unpaid bills. I don't think they mentioned that many of these, I don't know what percentage, but a very high percentage had negative reports from the municipal
Well,
auditor.
all of them have a
All of them.
negative report. That's why they
Right.
come to the pleno. Whatever
Okay.
they pay, if they pay properly, we never find out. Only when
Right.
we see the pictures of the counselor pointing to whatever they have done that day. That's the
Right.
only way we have to find out when they spend the money properly. So
Right.
all this money has been spent improperly. And what Mijas Comunicación will never say, because apparently they always forget, is that there was a lot of invoices from February, March, April 2021.
Whoa.
There were invoices even from 2019. The town hall organized some chess and basketball competitions in 2019, 20, and 21, and they never paid them.
Right.
Why? Because they couldn't find any excuse of spending that money without following the law. And then after 3 years thinking, perhaps they believe that we are not going to read the papers as them, or they may say, well, they will focus their attention on other important things and this will be unnoticed. No, we read all the papers and we count all the figures. And that's why we know that they spent wrongly 30 million euros in the year 2021, because their trick was to give us 198 pages of figures without a total.
Right.
So if you wanted to know the total, you should go to 198 pages. And when I asked the Counselor of Economy and Taxes that all these lists should be published with the total, do you know what he did? He included in our WhatsApp group the picture of a calculator.
Yeah.
It was a way to tell me you can sum it up. I
And
mean,
you did.
of course, when you handle computers, you know that if you are working with an Excel or even with a Word, you can press the total and you will get the total.
Yeah.
But if they expect or they believe that we are not going to do that job, he can lose all hopes, as I said in the pleno. We have added that, and it is more than 30 million euros. And believe me, we are going to complain to whoever we have to complain.
Right.
And we will shout and we will scream, and our voice will be heard, hopefully somewhere where they pay attention to these things and they take decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is like the old story, Mario, that we get this every month. It just happened to be a particularly large amount of money this time. And, just to make it clear to people, yes, we usually vote against it, not because we don't want suppliers to be paid, but because,
But because we don't want our money to be misspent. And I
right,
will give you a sample. Imagine that the town hall is paying 100 euros per hour for the work of a machine.
Right.
And they sign a contract, and that machine is working at that price per hour during 5 years.
Right.
That contract expires. And by law, the town hall has to put the new contract for tender because someone may offer the hour of a machine at 110, but others may offer that at only 95 euros.
Right.
Why? Because some other companies may have more machines than the one they need or for any reason. And the law says you must put that offer to tender. The contract of hours of machine expired in 2018. We are
Right.
in 2022. Why have not they done a contract with other companies? So we don't know where we are paying the right amount of money or not. That is the criticism from the general auditor.
Right.
Perhaps we could pay only 95 euros instead of 100. So perhaps we are wasting our money. We talk to those companies and they tell us, Mario, even without having a contract, we are still rendering the service and we have not increased the price, which some other companies have done. Fine, but that price should be decided between the offer and the demand from the town hall, not simply extending a contract, which cannot be extended because the law says that town halls have to publish the contract for tender as soon as it expires.
Right.
Usually they do it the day before, they do it wrongly, and there are no offers. So if there are no offers, they keep running the same contract as before. That is against the law, not against my own opinion, it is against the law. That's why the general auditor says no way, and that's why we vote no. Do things
Right.
properly. And they don't even apologize because we could appreciate that. Imagine it is a Sunday, you forget the 3 previous months to do the new contract, and you arrive late, and then you apologize. But no, he has not done the contract since 2018, and he keeps spending money there without
Right.
any explanation and without any apology, without any commitment to do things legally. That is
Right.
what we criticize.
And I have to say, Mario, that there's a lot of gaslighting goes on in these meetings. Whenever someone criticizes, um, and it's not just you, in fairness, there are other councillors in the opposition, on the opposition benches, that criticize some of these things that are happening and immediately turn back on them, like as if it's their fault.
Yes,
Well, it's always going to be the PP's fault, because you did have 4 years out the last 43.
40.
Uh,
Yes,
so,
well, but we left the government in 2015. We are now in 2022. The excuse of blaming everything to the PP is no longer valid. And they realize it is ridiculous. So sometimes now they blame the Junta de Andalucía,
right,
the regional government. Why? Because they have been socialist for 30 years also, but now it is ruled by the PP. So now all the problems are due to the Junta de Andalucía. I don't know if I have ever told you about this joke of the politician that reaches his desk for the first time and the one leaving that position gives him 3 envelopes and numbered and tell him, if you ever have a problem, please open the envelopes following that number. So he started having a problem and he opened the first envelope. And there is a short note saying, blame the previous party. So he starts saying that he couldn't do anything better because the previous left everything wrong, but life will be better from now on. And then he survives. He finds the second problem. He opened the second envelope that says, blame it to other politicians of other institutions, which is what they are doing, blame it to the Junta Andalucía. And then he finds the third problem and opens the third envelope. And the note says, start writing 3 envelopes. That is what we are telling Roy to do. Start writing 3 envelopes with excuses for whoever comes and takes your position in May 2023, which is only 7 months ahead.
right. Okay, Maria, I think people will have got the picture on the financial front, and it really is pretty much chaos. Mario, there's another thing which has just really surfaced over this last week or so. Um, we're going to be spending 17 million for a car park, which is about 74,000 euros per space. Would you like to talk us through this?
Yes, it is easy. We all know that we are short of parking spaces.
Yeah,
That is true. Why? First, you should start blaming the politicians that have allowed a lot of properties to be built packed without having any room for cars.
yeah,
Fine, but that is done. Now, the government, it is true that they should start thinking how they can supply or they can locate, which is the word they enjoy using to
hmm,
locate places, locate parking spaces. When we arrived in 2011, we realized of the problem. There were a lot of empty plots in Las Lagunas, so we talked to the owners, and as they were not thinking in building, we make them flat, clean them, and people started to park there. But we all knew that this will come to an end.
it was
If
going to
you
be
have a
temporary. Yeah,
That's right. If you have a plot, you want it to grow up buildings, not to grow up tomatoes. And that has started to happen. While nothing has been done since 2015, they have only kept the parking spaces that we found, more than 1,000 for free for the people, and they have run out of half, and they soon will run out of the other half. For example, by the way, they have authorized to build a Lidl in the big parking area, which is between Carrefour and the Ford garage,
right.
before
Yes,
named Garage Victoria. That plot that has about 200 cars, they have changed that from a building into a commercial premise, which obviously will need more parking, and all those parking spaces will be lost. So the
right.
problem is getting worse.
Yeah.
And they have decided to do it in an area that we call Los Santos because all the streets are named on saints. For example, there
Okay.
is a Saint Mario Street, San Adolfo, all the areas near a street called Union Street. And there is no room to make a big underground parking because the streets are very narrow. But there are two small squares that they want to join through an underground tunnel. So that's why the parking spaces are so expensive because they have put it for tender for 17 million euros. Imagine at the end it is given 14,000, sorry, 14 millions, 14 millions. If there are only 230 spaces, each of them will be 70,000 euros. There
Right.
are apartments for 70,000 euros. So I'm sure there are other ways to find parking for people at a better rate. Also, when the town hall invests 17 million euros or 14 if they manage to find a company that offer a lower price and complete the work instead of leaving it unfinished as they
Right.
have left the extension of the sport
Sports
area
center. Yeah.
in El Albero. Assuming they do it at the end, how is the town hall going to run that infrastructure? Who is going? Shall the town hall will be selling the parking spaces at how much? At 10,000 euros, for example, which could be a good price. Who is paying the other 60,000? Because
Right.
I have bought my own garage
Sure.
at home and in my office. So why some people have to pay 10, 20,000 euros for their parking space, and now the town hall is going to invest 17 million euros of their money in subsidizing a parking in the worst area where it is more expensive to be done?
Hmm.
Shouldn't it be better to be done wherever it is easier?
Yeah.
Because we all believe that an underground parking is better. But in some other places, you have to make the parking area on the surface or a little bit
Sure.
far from the houses. So if you can build 200 parking spaces with these 17 millions, shouldn't you make it somewhere else and build 400 parking spaces instead of only 200?
Well, yeah, I mean, a typical example, I mean, I know all of Las Lagunas is a nightmare. I hate going over there because getting parked is a nightmare every time. You're all right, you've got a motorbike. But, you
Correct.
know, there's, you know, parking in Mijas Pueblo, that nothing has been done to extend that. Um, and I've been told, and you can tell me if this is correct, that when Estepona built their hospital, it cost around 17 million to build the hospital. So that 17 million for 230 odd car parking spaces could, in theory, have been used to build a hospital for Mijas.
That is a good example. And the question that everybody wonders is why this thing is not at least discussed in a monthly meeting.
Yeah,
Why don't they say we have 17 million euros, we want to spend it because we are going to lose the power and we want to spend all the money. We don't want to leave anything for the PP whenever they come afterward.
right,
Fine, but we have 17 million euros. Why don't we discuss whether we prefer to do a hospital instead of a parking space in an area where is the most expensive area regarding cost of construction in Las Lagunas?
right.
Why these things are not discussed? We are spending 7,000 euros daily in having our local TV. 7,000 euros daily on
Right.
having our local TV. Why don't they make a program talking about the advantages and disadvantages of making a hospital, building a hospital, or building a parking space somewhere else? Don't
Yeah.
we have alternatives? I'm
I
sure we have.
I tell you what though, Mario, I would be a bit concerned if I was a house owner in this area and they're going to be tunneling underground round about my house. Because we already know there are some areas like in Esmeralda, in just outside La Cala, where the foundations of the building are really not very stable, and I would be a bit concerned if they're going to start tunneling under my house. To be honest,
Well, the problem in Esmeralda, now that you mention, is that apparently they had a leak in their sewage pipes and they didn't pay attention. Or if they
right?
paid attention, they thought it was too expensive to be repaired. And that water with the years have damaged the basements, and that's why they are reinforcing that. But in Las Lagunas, the problem is different. Those houses, most of them have been built by the inhabitants during the
Right.
weekends
Oh,
with, in many occasions, with not proper plans and perhaps not with the best building materials. I'm talking about the 50s, the 60s. Lately, the
yeah,
houses have
sure.
been built properly. But there are still houses built by the same neighbors, and in some cases, it was even the town hall that would supply the materials, trying to help people to have their own home.
Right.
What can you expect if you start to empty the bottom part of those squares?
Well,
There is no need to afford that risk. And I know that someone may say, Mario, for sure there are technical reports saying that everything will be done properly. Yes, yes, for sure. There we have
sure.
reports regarding the Twin Towers saying that no matter what happens, they will never sink.
Yeah,
And they sank.
or the Titanic.
Or the Titanic, unsinkable.
Yeah,
Unsinkable was unthinkable because you couldn't think about
yeah,
it, but shit happens, as they say. So, do we really need to afford that risk? Can't we find any other place in the area? How many cars? Nobody has made a report of how many cars, how many parking spaces are needed, because it
right,
is true that there are not many parking spaces in the area. But perhaps there are not many cars. Because why? Because many of the people living in that area are of a certain age, and most of them prefer to walk around the park instead of driving a car, which they don't need because they don't need to go to work. They shop in the small shops in the area. So
sure.
before spending 17 million euros, I believe it should be thought at least 17 times. And it
Yeah,
looks like they have decided to spend the 100 million euros saved with the effort of everybody in the following months. And they are finding out ideas of how to spend the money, and open the piggy bank and left it
Yeah.
empty for whoever comes afterwards.
Okay, Mario. Another thing which is it's also money, but it's a different thing altogether. They approved a 19% increase in the cost of water.
Correct. And they are not giving explanations. All our water system was sold by the socialists to Acosol.
Right,
Mijas had its own water company called Mijagua, and in December 2010, this is something that some councillor in Ciudadanos didn't know, the one who is proud to know everything, he didn't know this. The company was sold in December 2010 to Acosol for 19 million euros. Acosol deducted 4 million euros that Mijas was owing, paid 2, and withhold 12 or 13 million euros, which we managed to collect later. So
right,
since that happened, it is Acosol, the one that serves the water and collect the water. And they have asked for an increase in the price, and our councillor has said, yes, of course, right now. Why? We haven't seen any accounts showing which is the cost of running that service.
right.
We haven't seen any plan to improve the sewage, which is a real problem in Mijas. Many houses are not connected to the sewage, to the sanitation system.
Sure.
So they have a septic tank, which is perhaps not in the best maintenance situation. And there are leaks everywhere. There are urbanizations, completely legal, authorized by the socialist government without sewage. Sierrezuela, Campo Mijas, part of Chaparral, there are no sewage. And perhaps 20 or 30 years ago, those properties were owned by people who came to Spain only 1 week every 10 to play golf. Now they all are occupied by people with children that take a shower every day and go to the toilet several times a day. Where is all
Yeah.
that water going? So we would accept an increase in the water if there is first a justification of the cost and second a plan to improve the sewage. No, it is simply set an increase and that's all. We voted no, because we are in favor to pay whatever the cost is of running our water system. But we are not in favor of paying whatever someone is asking for without giving us a proper justification.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else from the council meeting that you want to highlight, Mario?
Well, they took a very important decision, which I think everybody should be aware of. I'm sure you all know the cemetery, the road that goes up to Cerros del Águila. It has commonly been known by Camino del Acevedo because there is some area there called Acevedo. They have decided to give that name officially. So from
Right.
now on, Camino del Acevedo will be called Camino del Acevedo,
Well,
which
that,
is
that's
a
that's
very
very
important thing.
it's very comforting.
Yes, now if you get lost there, you will know at least which is the name of that road.
Right.
That department, which makes a big work giving name to all the streets, uh, we all wonder why don't they give the name of all the streets that are missing in 1 month and then it is over?
Right.
Because we are not making new streets. This
No.
Camino del Acevedo has been there at least since Cerros del Águila was built
Right.
40, 50 years ago. So it is not a new street. So why don't they count how many streets we have without names and put name as God did with all the animals at the beginning, long time ago? I don't think it is that difficult.
No.
So we vote in favor, of course, but perhaps it is time to do it at once, forever, and
Yes.
then put names only whenever there is a new street.
Yeah, but because we do get this on a regular basis, and these streets are rarely new streets.
That's right, it is one street every month.
Yeah.
Why? Last month they changed Camino del Zorro, which is a very narrow road that joins Chaparral with El Faro, and they change it, and now instead of Camino del Zorro, it will be called Calle del Zorro. A small step for the town hall, but a big step for the humankind. Those are things that we believe that we are wasting our time if there are only 3 or 4 hours a month where the 25 councillors are there to discuss serious things. I think we should focus on important things. For example, going back to the point before, whether with 17 million euros we build a hospital or a parking building.
Yeah.
No, instead of that, we decide to name Camino del Acevedo from now on, Camino del Acevedo. Congratulations.
Mario, something else that I've been asked about, and I've seen this on social media, and perhaps you can just confirm it for us, is to do with the number. Now, this is not particularly Mijas Council, but it will affect Mijas. Is the numbering of the exits on the A7? Apparently, there's going to be some kind of change on that.
Correct. Ace, you may have heard about Franco, that very bad fellow that was running Spain after the Civil War until he died in 1975. I'm sure he did many bad things, but he did something, well, not him, I guess there were many clever people in that team. They built roads that were called nationals. And
Okay.
there was a national road, which everybody knows, the 340, and the road N340 started in Cadiz and finished in Barcelona. So it is numbered from kilometer zero in Cadiz until 1,200 and something in Barcelona. So if
Okay.
there is an exit in the point 222, for example, Benalmádena, then that is the kilometer 222, and it will be called exit 222, which is something that everybody understands. But
Yeah.
this government we have in Madrid said, well, if everybody understands it and it is fine, let's do something about it. Let's create a problem. And they have decided to change all the numbers. So now the road will start in Barcelona and will finish in Cadiz. This has been a concession to the Catalonian because they believe they are the center of the universe. And they cannot accept that a road starts in Cadiz. Everything has to start in Rome and reach to Rome. And that is what
Yeah.
the Catalonian believe. So because of a concession from the central government to get the support of those who want Catalonia to become independent, which has nothing to do with this, by the way.
No,
So the government is changing. Imagine the cost of changing all the signs in the roads for
absolutely.
nothing, for
Yeah.
nothing, because the road will not be safer, the road will not be wider, the road will not be faster. It
Yeah.
will simply to create a mess where something works perfectly.
And the other thing, Mario, and this has been commented on by local business people, who have their information of how to get to their businesses and telling them you have to exit at exit 221 or exit 222. And, this is going to cost them to change this, to give people directions.
We receive 80 million tourists in Spain every year.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a British driving a car with the wheel in the wrong side, driving through the wrong side of the road, perhaps with one beer or two in his body, looking for the kilometer where he has to go out or left or
Exactly.
right? We are creating a problem where there was no problem. Everybody was happy. We all knew that Marbella was finishing in the kilometer 192, which is Hotel Artola. And we all know the 222, which were the long big queues in Benalmádena
Sure.
to go underground the N340. So we all knew more or less in which kilometer we were. Now we are going to be in the kilometer 1000 or something like that. Why? How is our lives changing or getting better because of this change? It is worse because this will cost money. And then, Google, which is the source of all knowledge nowadays,
Yes.
will have to be updated. Who will do that? Will that be done all of a sudden from night to day in the 1,200 kilometers along the coast? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's going to be absolute chaos, and for people who use other navigators, you know,
Yes.
not a Google navigator, but people use them different things on phones and tablets and whatever.
Mhm.
They will all end up wrong unless the companies that they bought the navigators from actually decide to change it all.
Yes, imagine someone going to kilometer 192, Hotel Artola. He may end in Tarragona. If he has enough petrol, he will reach Tarragona looking for Hotel Artola, just to mention something that we know and is not in Mijas.
Yeah.
Which was the need? When you do something, mainly that costs, even if it is for free, why do you do it? Don't you have
Mm,
any other problems to solve? No.
sure.
Our president has done that and has gone to Kenya to plant a tree and has confused the country he was in. And even though he was with 67 advisors, 67 people that have been unable to tell our president in which country he was landing. Things
Okay.
cannot be better.
No. Mario, I think we've covered the bulk of the things from the council meeting. Um, yeah, I have to be honest. I find these okay. It was only 3.5 hours this week or this month, but I just find um, I find them so unproductive, to be honest.
Well, let me tell you something that was productive. The building department brought a point that was changing the qualification or the classification of some plots in Avenida de Mijas near Pueblo La Campana because someone was going to lose 400,000 euros and the town hall wanted to help them. And then I made the question that many people in the area wonders, what is happening to the petrol station? If you drive through Avenida de Mijas, going up to El Coto and
Yeah.
Sierrezuela, on the left side you can see a small complex, perhaps 100 apartments, called Pueblo La Campana. And they have a big sign outside saying no petrol station. So I simply asked, are we taking the opportunity to remove the petrol station from so close to the houses? And the counselor of the building department said, no, that is impossible. So he could change all that area to help some people with 425,000 euros, but he cannot even spend a single minute thinking how he could put the petrol station a little bit far away from those houses.
Right.
That made us vote no, because we are in favor of the people. Nobody wants to have the petrol station near his house.
No.
And if it has to be there for any strange reasons, I think the town hall should pay an effort giving explanations. The way in which the counselor of the building department said, no, no, that is going to be left as it is. I don't live in Pueblo La Campana, but it is annoying all those people who were expecting a possibility to perhaps move the petrol station a little bit far away from their houses.
Right.
By
Yeah.
the way, I know there are many people living in the top area of Hornillo and Campomijas, and even people from La Alquería that have to drive through a very small winding road where there were three solar light posts,
Mhm.
which the councillor decided to remove.
Well,
Why? Nobody knows.
are they costing too much money to run?
Well, they were solar. I don't know if they were a bad sample. So they removed those three lights, and two cars have gone down through the hill. And
Right.
I am not saying they have gone down, they have fallen down because of the lack of light. But don't you think that if there is light, the possibility of a car falling down the hill is smaller? I
Uh,
think so.
well, it would make sense. Yeah.
At least if the car was falling down through the street light, that post will stop a car. So at least in those three locations.
Yeah.
And the explanation of the counselor is that because I live in that area, he will not do it. I don't live exactly there. I live near that area, and it is true that I drive that road every day. Me and possibly 1,000 more citizens of Mijas. It is
Absolutely.
not my road. It is a public road, and two cars have already fallen down, only economic damages. Is he
Right.
expecting someone to fall down and die to replace those three lights? Why did he remove them? I know they were not perfect because they had a very strange sensor. So when you were getting closer with your car, the lights of the car will make the street light goes off.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
possibly the sensors have to be better orientated. But he has decided to remove them and hasn't given any alternative. Month after month, his only excuse is because you live there, I will not do it. That's not a
Yeah.
good way to deserve the vote. Not mine, because he will never get mine,
Well,
but
yeah.
not of the 1,000 people driving in that area.
But let's be honest, Mario, it doesn't really matter whether you live there or not. You're a Mijas resident and Mijas taxpayer, and whether you're a councillor or not, you still have the same rights as as any other Mijas resident.
Yes, but I was not even asking that for myself.
No, I
I am
realize that. Yeah.
a good driver, and my car has lights, and I know the way because I have been driving there for 15 years now. But there are people, many tourists, with rented cars, perhaps with the wheel in the wrong side,
Yeah. Sure.
not automatic cars, and they get nervous. There is no light. Sometimes there are wild boars or even rabbits crossing that street. So, why did you remove three street lights that were working and now you are not offering any alternative, simply saying that because Mario lives there, you will do nothing? That's not a good thing to say from a politician.
No, it's not. Mario, thank you so much for joining us and for regaling us with the exploits of Mijas Council.
You know,
We'll
I
be,
enjoy it.
we will be back in a month to see what they've got for us next time around. For everyone who's been joining in today, thank you. We're almost at the weekend, so have a good one when it comes. And we will be back next week, next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.